In this video, we're going to take the next step from our last video, and we're going to add some dimensions to these multi-view drawings that we created in Inventor. So first of all, just as you get into each sheet, confirm you've got the best front view. We talked about this yesterday. A good front view is typically going to show the object in its most natural position. It's going to give you a good idea of what the profile of the object looks like. And so I can tell this is an L-shaped part by looking at my front view. Had I chose a view like this right side from my front, I can't really tell it's L-shaped. So that's maybe not my best front view. There were a few other requirements we looked at in that one too. Typically, a good front view is going to have little to no hidden lines. And typically, although that's not the case with this one, because this is its most natural position, the longest axis is going to run left to right. And so if you look at yours and you go, oh, I don't have the best front view, remember, you can just hover over your object, get those red lines to show up, double click. That'll bring up this view cube, and that'll allow you to rotate things around on the view cube as they get updated in this view. When you click OK, right, it'll update them in the other views, except for the isometric. So if you update this view, you got to delete your isometric by clicking once, hitting the delete key, say OK, and then you'll have to come in here and project out a new isometric view. I like the way this thing looked at the beginning, so I'm going to hit Control-Z a couple times here, get things back to the way they were. So, like I said, this video's intended purpose was to show you how to put dimensions on, not get too deep into place and views, but just give it a little review before you get started. So now to put dimensions on, I need to leave my Place Views tab up at the top, and I need to click on Annotate. We could use this basic dimensioning tool here to add dimensions one at a time. I'm going to teach you a quicker way to do that in this introduction video, and we'll come back and we'll kind of refine our dimensioning skills as time goes on. And so the quicker way to do this is to use this baseline tool. And what that's going to allow you to do is dimension every feature that deals with the width, the height, or the depth of an object all at once. So we're going to click baseline. And the first thing I'm going to do is dimension all the features that deal with the height of this object in the front view. So I'm going to come to the front view, and I'm going to click the two outside horizontal lines, and then I'll come back and I'll click any horizontal lines on the inside of this object. And now this object's only got one additional horizontal line, so that's all I need to click here. Then, and this is kind of the tricky part, I'm going to right click, I'll left click on continue. I'm going to drag these dimensions out until I see that little polka dotted look. Then I'm going to left click, and this is the part that I usually goof up. After I left click, I typically move on, but what I need to do is right click and then say create, and that'll lock those dimensions in. And now any dimensions that deal with an object's height should be placed between the two views, the front and the right side, that show how tall that object is. And next, I'm going to dimension the width of this object. So I'm going to come to the baseline tool again. I'm going to click the vertical lines that set up the outside width of this object. Then I'll come back and click any vertical lines in the middle. Okay, I'm going to right click, left click, and I'm going to drag these objects up in between my front and top view since they both give information about the width of this object. And then I'm going to left click, right click, left click again. And I've dimensioned the width features and I've dimensioned the height features here. I just need to come back one last time and dimension the overall depth of this object. Now, there's only a left and a right side. This object has a uniform depth. And so I could get away with just using this front view and putting an annotation down at the bottom that say this object has a uniform depth of 1.5 inches. And to do that, I would use this text tool. Come in here, create a text box, and then I would say this object has a uniform depth of 1.5 inches. Right. Or, I'll show you a couple options here. I could leave one of my two views on here. So maybe I want to get rid of this side because I don't really need it. So I'm going to click on it, left click, and I'm going to click delete. And then I could just use my regular dimension tool. I click these two lines, pull this out till I get polka dots. And this time I just need to left click once to set it. So there's my L-shaped part fully dimensioned using just the right amount of views. I'm going to save this now. Then on my model bar, I'll move on to object number 2, right, and do the same thing. So this one I'll just show you before I leave. And I'm going to use the baseline. We'll do the object's height. Picking the 2 outside ones. This one's got 2 horizontal lines in the middle, so I'm going to pick both of those. Right click, left click, slide my cursor out till I get the polka dots. Left click, right click, left click, and I got those dimensions added. And then I'll come back to baseline. Pick the outside object edges first. Then I'm coming back, picking all the other vertical lines. Right click, left click, polka dots, left click, right click, left click, and I've got the height, I've got the width dimensioned. This is another one where I could probably put a note over here. It has a uniform thickness, or I can just grab my dimensioning tool and I can dimension the overall depth or thickness of the object by putting one dimension up top. Again, I get in the habit of clicking save after I do a bunch of dimensions or I finish a sheet, and then I can come over here to my model bar and I can continue to move through these sheets. So that's dimensioning in a nutshell. You're going to continue this process until you've got all 7 drawings dimensioned to the best of your ability, and then we'll talk about how we can print or convert these to PDFs to turn them in class in our next video.